1, 2, 3.
Today was crazy, man. That was a wild race. Yeah, I mean, it was flat out, a bunch of chaos the first couple hours. It was a big bunch. There was rocks flying everywhere and people crashing. And I think there was quite a few people who just had a bad day.
About mile 26, an area known as the cattle pens. Keegan Swenson right on the front.
Man, I've heard so much about this race, like good and bad. I mean, I've heard there can be some crazy mud, there's lots of water crossings. Honestly, it's hard to believe what everyone says because everyone has their own take, and yeah, there's a lot that can go wrong, and I don't know, it'll be exciting. Yeah, I've never raced Unbound. This is my first time, actually my first time in Kansas.
We'll have 4,000 athletes from every single state and 45 countries, I believe, is what we've got this year.
Kind of heard about it and I was like, I'm not sure I really ever care to do that. And then, next thing you know, we're here and we're racing, so.
The course does change every couple of years. It's not a static course. So we're going south this year, which is my favorite route to go is to the south.
I think everyone thinks it's, just dead flat out here in Kansas, but there's actually a lot of little hills, and I think it adds up over the course of 200 miles. And these hills, they might not be long, but they could be steep, and they could be like kind of slippery or rocky.
If you haven't been in the Flint Hills, it's really a national treasure that a lot of people just don't know about. And, the flyover state thing is a real thing, and we hope that what we're doing here is combating that. Like, you can come and see really the beautiful parts of Kansas that are out there, and the 200 mile gets you into the good stuff.
Yeah, I think Unbound is one of the bigger gravel races in the world. I think it was one of the big races that kind of got the whole gravel thing started. And
when we created this event, I didn't ever get to ride gravel races because there was literally two.
It's pretty unique in the sense that it's super long and it's kind of in a place where there's not a whole lot of other bike racing.
Why you see gravel events in small communities like this, especially in the Midwest, is twofold. One, the access to the roads is super easy. And two, you have a community, this is a moment for Emporia where Emporia, kind of gets to puff up its chest and be super proud. Emporia gets to be center stage for the weekend for, thousands of people. It becomes a moment for us to put what we have and what we believe in on a world stage.
I don't know. I've been riding a bike since I was 6 years old, I started racing mountain bikes when I was 11 or 12 years old. I did my first little kids race in the grass around and watched the pros race, and I thought it was just one of the coolest things I'd ever seen and done. So I started racing more regionally in Idaho and Wyoming and Colorado, and then started racing more nationally and then internationally, and now we're here. So, out here there's gonna be a lot of 90-degree loose turns, and I think being a mountain biker, you'll learn how to push your tires kind of the edge of where you're comfortable. And I think we can also get away with running a faster tire. I'm racing on a proper slick, essentially just a road bike tire with big volume. So the tire is the same width as a traditional gravel tire, but there's just no knobs.
The choices we have now in the gravel space, you can really see how the industry has adopted what we're doing, and the tire selection is better, the sealant is better, the bikes are better, so you have faster times and better success rates because the equipment is simply better for the athlete.
I've been training on these tires for the last month or so, getting really comfortable on them because they're predictable. They slide and they drift, but once you get comfortable with how they move, it's okay.
Obviously having the technical abilities is key. There's just some mind stuff that I think mountain bikers, just from their experiences, bring to the table that a road racer has a different perspective on. We're not putting you on easy roads. It's not smooth.
Yeah, I think as a mountain biker, you kind of learn to deal with your own stuff to a certain extent. We're used to fixing our stuff. Like a lot of the races, you're way out there. You might have some tech zones, but they might be separated by 30, 40 miles of single track, and there's no other way out but to ride your own bike.
There are challenges just in the fact that you're doing it, and I think kind of coming into it with that attitude helps.
I think being a mountain biker for Unbound's a pretty big advantage, to be honest. I think it's It might not be the most technical gravel race, but I think being able to pick good lines at speed and when you're fatigued is something that mountain bikers are good at. You know, you just learn to be good at racing these long mountain bike races. I did that 24-hour solo this past February and learned a lot there about longer distances. That was one of the hardest things. I think it was the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. One of the reasons I did it is to learn about fueling, nutrition, how I feel, like maybe I crave certain things like 6 hours in, maybe I need this, and like small things like shoes, make sure everything's dialed, your insoles are comfy, your shoes are perfect, your hands, make sure you have good gloves, good grips, or in this case bar tape, make sure everything's set up and make sure you've ridden that same position a lot. And once it comes to like hour 8, you'd be like, oh man, my feet really hurt and my hands hurt, and I think that really taught me you can kind of push through those things to a certain extent, but you can also learn how to mitigate them from the start and keep them from happening. So.
Why road shoes?
Just like the way they fit a little bit better. They're a little more supple. Like there's less protection on them, and they're a little stiffer. Just like them.
But not road pedals, sticking with mountain bike pedals.
Yeah, just for a little better clearance of the mud and such.
It's not going to be the mud fest that it was in 2015, like, you know, the mud year.
I don't really know what to think now, to be honest. I don't know if anyone knows.
There's going to be some sections for sure that are going to be muddy.
I wanted different tires, I wanted to change this and that, but then it dried out. Because you can't trust the weather here until it's here, you know? It's going to be what it's going to be.
I think that just adds some flavor to the race. That's cool.
If it rains, it's going to be definitely a different race than if it's fully dry. I think if it's dry, it's going to be a faster, like more group racing kind of thing. And I think there could be like smaller groups of like 10, 20, 5, like it could like slowly whittle down. Whereas if it's wet, I think it's going to split from the beginning. And I think for me, it helps to just make the pace hard from the start. I think being a mountain biker, that also helps, you know, having the good technical skills and ability to find the good lines to that stuff is definitely an advantage. So I'll be pushing the pace early for sure.
So F stands for front, so I need to be at the front by mile 14 because it gets narrower. A is for aid station, and that's a 77, and then another one at 164. And that's pretty much all that matters to me. And then what's on the arrow hook there? That is keep it in your pants. So don't go too hard, that's what it means. I don't know if you can use that or not, but.
You don't want to go too hard because then you can blow yourself up, but there's like this fine line of like pushing the pace so it's comfortable for me and without going too deep, so. Yeah, a bunch of stuff going on with aero bars. I was like, well, maybe I should try them and see. And Pete sent out like a kind of email to all of us. A bunch of us were down to not use them. I was one of those being like, yeah, if new guys aren't going to use them, then I'll take them off. A few of the guys at Dutch Riders, and a couple others said they weren't going to take their aero bars off. So I kind of made the compromise and put on the little guys, which in my opinion aren't aero bars. There's no place to rest your arms. They don't stick out past your hoods. They're more or less just in their hand position. And like, I feel safer holding onto those than like just draping my hands over the bars. So it's kind of a safety thing and comfort thing, and I can still get aero on those if I need to, but yeah, I don't know. Pete put on something like that, and Russell's using the exact same ones as me. I think the promoter should just make a rule that says no aero bars past the hoods or no armrests. Like, they could come up with something. The spirit of gravel is something like as mountain bikers we've definitely kind of joked about, and we don't really know what it is, and I don't really know if the gravel folks really know what it is.
I don't understand when people get upset about pros coming or whatever. I'm like, do the event how you want to do the event. This whole concept of ruining gravel, I'm like, the way you ruin gravel is you decide that you want to ruin gravel. Unbound is a huge event. Like, if you don't like huge events, don't do Unbound. Like, there's literally hundreds of other events you can go do. These promoters that are putting on these events are passionate about what they're doing. They're inviting you to come ride the roads they ride. You know it's going to be good. When you go to an event, you're most likely getting to see the best they have to offer. I mean, that's the coolest tourist book out there.
This winter we did some bike packing or hotel touring down in southern Arizona, south of Tucson. And we just rode gravel bikes. We rode like 6 to 7 hours every day and would stay in different Airbnbs or hotels along the way. And that was one of the coolest things I've ever done. Stuff like that is the true spirit of gravel, where you're just out there with your friends, like cruising around, just doing whatever, going wherever you want to go. And racing is a different thing though. I don't know, like maybe there's some spirit in there, maybe not, but I don't know. It is what it is, you know?
What's this guy?
It's a speaker.
You're gonna race with that?
I'm going to. Because we're not allowed to use headphones, but you have to race with a phone. I'm like, well shit, if I end up alone out there, it's gonna be pretty nice to have music. I made a playlist for this race, so I have an Unbound specific playlist. I mean, it's about 10 hours long, mostly metal, a bit of punk, some random other songs on there that I found inspiring, I guess. So I'm not gonna listen to music for 10 hours, but I figured in the spirit of Unbound, I should make it a beast, so.
Yeah, the rest of the Lifetime series is big for me. So you have Crusher and the Tusher, Leadville's a big goal, Big Sugar, and Schwalm Lifetime kind of swallows a lot of the season. You know, it's a big thing, and there seems like there's a race almost every month, basically through October. So winning Unbound to be pretty big, I think, for me. Seems a lot of people don't really think a mountain biker has it in them to win Unbound. So for me, it's kind of like I like to prove people wrong. A lot of people said I couldn't win it 24 hours solo, so I went and did one to see if I could win it, and I did. So I think winning Unbound to be big. It's also one of the biggest gravel races in the world, so it's kind of like the World Championships of gravel in my mind. So it's definitely a big goal.
Pretty early on, Pete hit it up one of the early climbs to split it, and that was still a pretty big bunch after that, maybe 40 or so.
I mean, I know it's fun to race with the roadies, you know, Alex Howes and Lachlan and Pete Stetna. They race differently than us, and I think it's always fun, you know, new competition, so.
About 46 miles in, and we're just a little over 2 hours, so you do the math. That's fast.
There was another selection that I kind of hesitated for a second. So for some reason, Boz had let this big gap open, and then I hesitated for a minute and didn't close it immediately, and then they were way up the road, and I was like, I think that's gonna be the race, so I better go.
Lawrence Tendam. And 2 riders with him. Those guys lean off the front? Of that first group? Goodness sakes.
I went pretty much full gas to close that down, and I think if I hadn't done that, I would have been in trouble. Felt like it was pretty much full gas most of the day, but it's so long, so you're kind of at this limit a lot of the time, and there's not many races where you're going that hard for that long. Man, it kind of sucked. I wasn't really expecting it to rain, so when I saw the big black cloud rolling in before 8-2, it started raining at probably mile 100, you know, right in the middle of the race.
How are things looking?
You know what? It's amazing out here. It's an epic day. We're going to get to see them overcome some obstacles that maybe they were hoping they weren't going to have to. And for me, this is the kind of stuff you love to see because you get to see what it brings out in people.
And if you had one word of advice for the people out there on course, what would it be?
Know when to walk.
But in the last couple miles, Ian attacked up the last little pavement climb before the campus. Going through campus, Lawrence attacked, and I bridged up to, you have no choice. I was like, well, racing to win, so I got to bridge up to him, and obviously I did that drag the Dutch rider along. Ian let out the first little sprint, and then I countered, and then I think I went a little bit too early, but won't let that happen again.
1, 2, 3.
I think in hindsight, I just went a bit too early, maybe. I don't know. Maybe I would have lost anyway. Maybe not. But yeah, so that was it. This race has definitely gotten more competitive the last couple of years, and you see it kind of slowly ramping up. And this year, it definitely just with the Lifetime Grand Prix and having some more international racers, it's really cool to see the level of competition be stacked, and it makes the racing faster, more competitive, and I think it's better for everyone, you know. So it's awesome. I bet if they ran the same course and it was dry, that we would have been at least 10 minutes faster, maybe 15. Yeah, it's cool. I mean, I won Sea Otter, which is a 3-hour mountain bike race, and then to be second here is pretty cool. So it's, completely different events, and so yeah, still pulled some more points overall for the Lifetime Grand Prix, which is awesome. So that's a big goal for the year. Yeah, I need to come back and win. I mean, the Grand Prix is big, and I want to win the Grand Prix, but I wanted to win this race, and yeah. I mean, it's not a consolation prize, it's awesome, but I still, you know how it is.